Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Garland Colson. I am the conversation architect for PresentationPoint, which means I get to collect all the fun customer stories. With me today is Kurt Dupont, who is the founder of PresentationPoint. And today we're going to be talking about amazing things you can do with Airtable and PowerPoint. A couple of housekeeping issues. You can ask questions in the chat. I may not get to them right instantly, but we will certainly get through all the questions in the chat. Kurt might flag me if there's one that I can answer right away. Other than that, we'll certainly get to them at the end. So do ask lots of questions, because if you've got a question, chances are there's 5 or 6 other people who are too shy who have the same question. So you're really helping everyone when you ask the questions. This session will be recorded and it will be available on our YouTube channel. So you'll be able to later on just go to YouTube, search for PresentationPoint, and you'll be able to find this. So I'm going to stop my videos now, and then I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So
good luck, Garland.
And stop Kurt's video as well. Okay, there we go. Share screen. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so amazing things you can do with Airtable and PowerPoint. And as always, you can find more information at presentationpoint.com. So what the heck is Airtable? So Airtable is a lovely, powerful, yet easy to use online database system. And we'll show you some examples in a few moments. What I really love about it is it's just so easy to share your online databases with people, and also that it's got a very robust free version, which is a great price for those of us just starting out with it. So a lot of times when we're working with data, of course, one of the main contenders is Microsoft Excel, and most of us, keep a lot of data in Excel. Nothing wrong with that. Excel is fantastic to work with. I mean, at its heart, almost every database really is nothing more than a spreadsheet. It's just how they pretty it up to get the information in and out. For that. So Excel's great, and DataPoint works with both Airtable and Excel, and over 25 different data sources. But Airtable has a few benefits when you're comparing it to Excel, and it's very easy to create pull-down menus within Airtable, which makes it a lot easier for the people doing your data entry to be able to enter the data or have choices of what kinds of information they're putting in. Airtable is awesome for formatting columns. So you can say, okay, this column's for phone numbers, this column's a URL, this column's a formula, this column's for multiple choice. So that just makes it really an easy way to set up a new database. Airtable is great for creating views and filtering data, and very easy to share online. That's really the power of it. Excel is much more difficult to share with people online, whereas Airtable just makes it seamless to be able to share your data online. And you can use Airtable for online data collection. So you can very easy to create forms using it. Airtable has both grid and Kanban views. For those of you who aren't familiar, Kanban's kind of a card-based system, similar to what Trello uses, and we can show you an example of a Kanban view later on. Now, when you start with Airtable, you don't have to start from scratch. You can, and often I do, but Airtable has hundreds of templates, content calendars, digital video production, project trackers, project launches, social media calendars, digital video production. There's just hundreds of different templates you can start with, and we'll show you some of the templates and how you can access them in a bit. So what does Garland use Airtable for at PresentationPoint? Well, there's probably more than these, but here's what I came up with quickly off the cuff. So I use Airtable to manage all the tasks that I do for PresentationPoint. So I can easily drop my tasks in, mark them done. I can share my tasks with Kurt so he can see what I'm working on. So it's just a really great system to be able to put my tasks in. I also use it for time blocking. So what am I working on during this next time period? Am I working on content creation? Am I working on partnership outreach, like finding strategic partners to work with? or am I working on following up with people who've downloaded trials to see if they need any help? So, I can choose what I'm doing in any of those cases. And I've set up time blocking within Airtable to be able to choose what I'm working on next. When we create content for PresentationPoint, our videos, there's a number of different steps to go through, everything from coming up with the title with an idea, then doing some keyword research for it, then writing the outline, then creating the PowerPoint for it, then recording the video, then creating the blog post, then promoting it. So there's tons of different steps. So all of those steps are set up as templates within the content development Airtable that I've got. So I always know where I'm at and where I left off. And the reason I do this is because I've learned that you can't keep this stuff in your head. Many times I've gone in and to create a new blog post, and I've written a new blog post, and then later on when you're searching, you'll find another blog post that was half written months ago on the same topic. So I found that I was wasting some of my time by rewriting stuff I'd already done because I didn't have it in a very step-by-step format. So here with content development in Airtable, I never have that problem. If I'm writing an article about how to do, say, digital signage for a coffee shop, then it's all there. I tick off as I come to each step in there, and I can leave a comment that says, okay, I started the post in WordPress, or I've done the keyword research, so I can tell where I'm at. Trade shows. We haven't done any trade shows the last couple of years. Some of you may have noticed there's this kind of pandemic thing happening right now. But prior to that, we were doing 2 to 3 major trade shows a year. So we would have a database of trade shows and the planning and everything going on with the trade shows. So that would tell me, where are we at? Did we sign the contracts? Have we sent the funds? Did we order, stuff to be shipped yet? All the different things that we need to do. Do we have all the supplies we need to do this? So all of that I'm doing in Airtable. And in addition to using Airtable for PresentationPoint, I use it personally for things like household expense tracking, goal setting, purchase comparison. When I was buying a new camera, I put the 4 or 5 different camera models I was looking at into an Airtable, made it very easy to compare with check marks whether it had the features I wanted. Travel planning, home inventory, and my wife and I have moved twice in the last 4 years. So moving planning, was done in Airtable. And the great thing is for things like the household expense tracking, travel planning, home inventory, and moving planning, I can easily share those with my wife. So that just made it really easy for both of us to collaborate on it and for both of us to add information there. So I can put in my top 10 travel places. She can put in her top 10, and we can see if there's any overlap. Is there anywhere we both want to go? So let's do just a short little Airtable tour here. So I'm just going to come out of PowerPoint for a moment and go to, there we are. Let's go to Airtable and have a quick peek here. So this is a sample Airtable. This one is just very simple. I just set up a travel survey. So I've put in the name of the person, how many business trips they take per year, how many dollars they spent on travel, and was that travel in country or international travel or both, because people could check both. So a really simple little system to set up. Here's another one I set up showing widget sales. So how much of each widget did we sell, and in this case, in the dollar sales. And then for task management, I just set up a very simple task system. There's the Kanban view of it, what's in the to-do list, what's in progress, what's done, what's submitted for approval. But if I go to the grid view, you can see it looks like the standard Airtables there. Now you see some of these are kind of cool because this is a pull-down menu where I can choose. Is it high, medium, or low? Or from the status, what status are these in? But I've also got just standard ones where I can just go ahead and change this to a different number here. I can just go ahead and put in the numbers. Sharing these views is really easy. Just click on Share View, gives you a link. Or of course, you can also invite people to it by just having them be a collaborator to your whole workspace or just to this base as well, if you want to invite people in to collaborate. But you can also just share it as something people can look at. Now, the views are interesting because you can create views to do whatever you want. So for example, I have some views here. I said, okay, what if I want to just see the people who indicated they do international travel? So if I want to narrow down my target audience to just people who do international, I can click there. And it's showing me only the people who've ticked yes on international travel. I really just did that by creating a filter that says where international travel is checked. So I could do as many of these filters as I wanted. I could add another condition that might be something like where the dollar value is greater than, 10,000, greater than 50,000 or something like that. So I could narrow it down to who are our biggest business travelers, everybody who's spending over $50,000 with us. Very fast, very, very easy to do. And you notice here that I've created different worksheets, or so to speak. You'd call them worksheets in in Excel usually, but this is all still one database. So you could have as many databases as you want. Now, the really cool thing here is you can create other types of things as well. So in addition to the grid views, you can do form, calendar, gallery, Kanban. And if you upgrade to Pro, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, you can do more things like timelines and Gantt charts. But the form view is awesome. So this is a business travel survey that was just easily set up using the fields I'd already created. So very easy and a very fast way to set up an online form to gather information. And if I want to see what the form looks like, if I just click on open form here, you can see it's quite a lovely, attractive, just really simple form that people could fill out. And if they fill out, that information is going direct into the Airtable. So you don't have to send people directly to your Airtable. You can just send them to this data collection form, which is phenomenal. Templates, I showed you a quick screenshot of the templates, but over here you can see there's ones for event planning, groups, clubs, and hobbies, human resources and recruiting, legal, marketing, nonprofits, PR and communication, real estate, etc. As we scroll down, you can see there's, planning your next novel, planning your indie film production. Again, some more event planning, event marketing, doing a nonprofit gala, pet medical history, soccer club, book catalog. These are all just, amazing. And if you click on any of these, it's very cool because you can see a preview before you use it. So this is a preview right here that shows what it will look like, and scroll across. And incidentally, you can embed these Airtables in a website as well. So that's what it looks like here. It's embedded. But if I want to see the larger version of what the Airtable would look like, here's the larger version showing, and you can even add pictures and things like that. So, and once again, with status, if we're choosing this, we can go ahead here and change what the status would be. So it's just great with all the different templates that they've got to do that. If I wanted to then use that template, I would click on use template and it would create a blank template for me. And do feel free to throw questions in the chat if any of you have questions. So pricing is great for Airtable. They've got a free version that's quite robust, that allows you to have unlimited bases and 1,200 records per base, which for most databases is going to be enough. Probably not enough long-term for your client database. You might have to upgrade to Plus or Pro. But Plus and Pro are, I think, $10 per person each a month, and then Pro is the next one up is $20 each. So they're not that expensive. And it shows you here what you get with each one. So as you upgrade, you get more records per base, more attachment space, revision and snapshot history, and some extra views as you upgrade to some of these levels, and some extra information, there. So that's kind of the overview in the tour. As I said, $10 a month for the Plus version, $20 a month for Pro. And then of course they have an enterprise if you need to go that far. But for most of you, you'll find the free one will do just fine to be able to start with. Okay, let's go back to our presentation. And And Airtable does have a mobile app as well for those of you who need to update information using mobile. So you can do that on the fly. If you know, oh crap, that number is wrong or has to change or something, and somebody's presenting, somebody else could be taking out the mobile app and could be updating the numbers as they go. And then that's going to, using data point, that's going to show up live right on your screen. So before Airtable, if you wanted to collect data online that you then wanted to put into your PowerPoint presentation, you had to create some sort of an online data entry form on your website, linking to a web database like MySQL or something like that. Now, for a programmer, that's pretty easy, but for the average everyday user like myself, I'm not a programmer, I can learn to do that, but that's a lot of work to do. And Airtable, just makes that so much easier because I don't have to call a programmer to do this. You saw how easy it was to create that form from Airtable in just a few minutes. So Airtable is just a great way to be able to create these data entry forms to collect data online. And there's just a quick snapshot of the form, the survey form. So an Airtable has that built-in ability to create the input forms from the tables you've created, and then to be able to share them online with others. So, and you could use collection forms for a live audience poll. So how you would do this is you would use an Airtable online survey forms. You'd set up the form online. Then you would send that Airtable link to your audience by URL or just by QR code. And then everybody in the audience could hold up their phone and grab the QR code right off your presentation. And then you have data points showing the results of that survey live on the screen in PowerPoint. So imagine presenting and getting live poll data while you're talking to people, like, what do you guys think about that? Or you're having an ethics debate and you have people weigh in on whether something is ethical or not ethical, or you ask people a question, how many of you do this every week? And then you can come up with percentages right away, right within your presentation. So Airtable with PowerPoint lets you do these kinds of live things. So how do I connect Airtable to PowerPoint? And you'll be pleased to note that PresentationPoint has a tool for that. So our data point tool lets you connect to over 25 different database sources, including Airtable. And you see some of the other ones are on there: MySQL, XML, text files, Excel spreadsheets, the Microsoft products, OData, etc. So we've got just tons of different ones that are done there. So then you connect to Airtable using the JSON feed, JSON feed for the table plus the API from Airtable. So in this case, we've clicked on the list command, created that, and then we've created a query to show the data. And you can see the data is showing up down below here once we've done our query and it's working. So where do you get your Airtable API key? You just go to airtable.com/account, and down here you'll see it's got the API key. Of course, it's dots because it's not showing. We're not going to show it live on here, but you can just copy that, and that will give you your API key that you get from Airtable. And then to get your JSON feed, the API feed, you just go to airtable.com/API. And then you browse to find your particular database, and then that will show you the API. And so the API, it's down here. It's hard to see. This is kind of a small screenshot, but it's a really long, API.airtable.com, then all this information and shows which of your tables you're using. And then at the very end, you have to insert your API key.
Maybe, Garland, if I can interrupt you.
Yep.
Oscan is typing, this is just what I'm looking for at the chat. So that's good news. And then maybe some abbreviations. The API, that stands for Application Programming Interface, just to make sure that everyone understands this. And JSON is a data format that is used. It's a recent data format that is used like XML. And JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. That's just some information that I wanted to share with you.
Yeah, thanks, Kurt. And certainly I'm not up on all the technical stuff, but yes, API is how many programs allow you to access them remotely using different programs. So it's a way to create connections between programs, which is fantastic. That
Yeah, no
API
problem.
is used for so many things.
And that's fine. I'm gonna just listen in on this while doing some other work, but
I'll just mute this. You can continue, comment.
Okay. Yeah, so once you've got that JSON feed, then you can create those connections. So that's where you get those connections from. And then that allows you to grab that data that you had in your database and pull it into your PowerPoint. And you can also create custom queries using, they've got some options there, curl and JavaScript that you can use. If you're a programmer, again, you can do some custom work there if you want to pull custom data out. But in addition to the custom data you can do that way, you can also use some of the tools built into DataPoint. We have some advanced tools that you get when you click on the advanced option. And for example, you could sort the data. You could choose the different data fields and sort them ascending or descending. You can also filter data. You see we've got options over here to be able to filter the data. And then we've got column selection where you can choose special columns. And so you can say, well, I don't really want this column. I don't need that information. So you can choose which aspects of the data that you want to use. So rather than having to be a programmer and create custom queries, you can just choose, pick certain columns and sort data using the tools that are built right into DataPoint. So let's start off with our really bad raw version of drawing in the data. So this is just what I've done with a quick insert with no cleanup at all. So this is just the raw data from from the database that I showed you, the survey. So it has the information here. The name is there, the amount they spent on travel, whether it was, how number of trips, the information's all there, but it's not very pretty. So in order to pretty that up, what I did was I did these three things. I chose the column selection order using that advanced tool in DataPoint. So what I did was just, change the order so that it would put the name first, then the spend, then the number of trips, then whether it was in country or international. I didn't like that the field names were kind of showing up really technical. So instead I just stripped them out and just threw manual column headers in PowerPoint. And then what I did was I selected, this particular column here, and then using DataPoint, I formatted it as currency. And I could do more. I could sort this. So I could sort the whole database so that it would be sorted by the person who spent the most money first, so I could sort it that way, or the person did the most number of trips first. So there's many ways you could do that, but it's just a really quick way to make it much easier. And the benefit is, now that I've got this information in, if anything changes in Airtable, if someone fills out a new survey, that will automatically be part of my presentation the next time I run it, or depending on how often I've told DataPoint to go out and refresh the data, maybe every 60 seconds or something, it will add the new information. And this is just a second one I did for sales reporting. So this is the widget one that you saw, just throwing it into a very nice table quickly there to show up, and did the cleanup again so that it looked a little bit nicer. And a third one, I just did the task status, I just threw into a table as well with these. So now you don't have to just work with tables either. You can also work with text boxes or graphics or images instead of tables. So in this case, what I've done is I've just drew a text box on the screen, went to the DataPoint ribbon, connected that text box to the data from Airtable. And the benefit of this is you can move them around and put them anywhere. And have you ever seen where you might see a map of the world where it's got little tags on it with data information, such as maybe how many people have COVID in each area, or what the gross national product is of each country? That's how we can do that. You can do the map, put one of these text boxes on that particular country in the map to show how much the gross national product is there, and then that will automatically update whenever your table changes. And so it takes a little more work to do with the text boxes, but it can give you a much prettier one, a much more graphic interface one that you're doing that way, and it keeps all the data always updating, so it's always going to be there and always going to be right. And this is just a simple chart using the Airtable data. And again, if you update an Airtable, that's going to update the chart. So by letting PowerPoint do the charts, but getting the data from Airtable, PowerPoint does the pretty stuff, creating the charts and doing that information. And Airtable does the data and the calculations and those kinds of things, so that you don't, because PowerPoint doesn't have the capability of doing the calculations, or, of being able to change that easily. And as another option too, you can just embed the website version of the Airtable right within a presentation. So that's another option to be able to do. So many options to get the data into your PowerPoint using data points. So some use cases for this, and I'm sure you guys can come up with more, but online polling, you could be doing online, live online polling, online surveys. These could be done with a live audience, or you can be continually pulling the information in. If you've got people from all over the world filling out information, and you're doing a presentation, it'll continually update. Project management, you can set up a project management dashboard that's going to show everything that's happening. You can even set it up that tasks that are blocked flash, the background flashes, or the background turns red using data point. So you can do that. Financial and sales reporting, we have a lot of companies that are using it to pull information from multiple sources and do that. Logistics, we have warehouses that are using it to say when's the next shipment going to come in, what staff are going to handle that shipment, and it's all set up so everybody knows, and it's showing up on a big screen. And key performance indicator, or often known as KPI dashboard. So you can show a KPI dashboard of what's happening. This could be sales, this could be profitability, it could be number of clients in your store. There's a manufacturing company called HD Supply that uses it to manage their manufacturing systems, so they can see what's happening on each of the lines, assembly lines, what's going on, how many panels are going through, how their CNC cutting machines are doing, and at a glance, their foreman can see what's happening on all the different lines. And they've told us that having this KPI dashboard using DataPoint and PowerPoint has given them a 25% increase in productivity just by being able to have that kind of a dashboard there. And I'm sure there's hundreds of other use cases that could be done. The case study area on our website has tons of different ways that people are currently using data point, and in most cases Airtable could be used in most of those cases. So. And remember, you can combine data from different sources. So data point lets you combine data from multiple sources into a single unified presentation or report using PowerPoint. So you can pull data from Microsoft Excel, your accounting software, your CRM, which could be Salesforce or something else, any online databases you have, even industrial equipment in the case of our industrial edition of DataPoint, and of course, Airtable. But you can put that into one dashboard or one report. And instead of having to go out and assemble that data every time, you assemble where it's all going to come from once. And then it's automated at that point, and all you don't ever have to copy and paste or pull in for information in other ways. And we love questions. So if anybody has any questions, we'd love it if you can type them in chat. These could be questions about Airtable, questions about DataPoint, questions about how to pull the two together, or questions even about other data sources. As I said, DataPoint handles over 25 different data sources. But pretty much every major data source I can think of, we are able to handle. And with Kurt here, we've got the capability of answering even some very technical questions. So yeah, please start typing your questions in chat. We'd love to help. So Ozcan says, is it possible to embed an Airtable form into a WordPress website page? And yes, it is. Absolutely. And if we just go to, let's see, Airtable pricing here we are. So let's go back to this database here. So you said a form. Let's go share form, embed this form. So you see here that it's giving you an embed code right here, an iframe code that you just copy and you drop that right into your WordPress website. And it shows you how it's going to look on mobile, and it shows you how it's going to look on desktop as well. Also, you can of course embed the actual database if you want. If we go back to all records, and something else I'd like to show here, this is kind of fun. So now we're just going to embed the whole database, and you can see it looks like this in desktop and like this in mobile. You can also use the card layout on desktop as well if you like. And in some cases, I prefer that card layout for the desktop down here. I find it's a little more interesting to me than the than the non-card layouts in some cases. So sometimes I prefer to do that for the embed instead. So Scott says, wondering if you were to do a poll with an audience, could you get the chart to update live and or animate the chart in? And the answer is yes. So when you were doing your presentation, let's go here. Let's go to, so if we go to the data point ribbon here, and oops, just gonna minimize that for a moment. And then we go to the list of our connections. Then we scroll down to JSON, and you notice I've named each of these. I've learned that that's really important whenever you create a connection or a query to name it right away, because what happens is you might get 3 or 4 different Excel connections and it's hard to remember, oh crap, which Excel connection was for which bit of data. So my personal tip on using DataPoint is always name these right away, because as soon as you got 10 or 20 different data sources coming in and without the names, you're scrambling to try to figure out which one it is. So when we go to the query here, we go edit query, we can choose how often we want the updating. So in this case, I'd set it for 60 seconds, but that could be 30 seconds, 5 seconds, 4 seconds. Like it could be as often as you want. So if you're doing a real-time live poll, that would be where you might want to have an update maybe every 5 seconds or something. So it's going to be happening, quickly that way. So,
Garland, have you experienced a limitation on the number of updates on Airtable in the free version?
I haven't so far for that. No, but mainly I've been working primarily with Airtable, with PowerPoint, with this presentation. So far I haven't hit anything. So
no, okay.
And once again, as I mentioned, with all the advanced functions here, you can do many things, such as changing the columns, sorting. You can choose the fields and sort. You can filter the data, and do the special column selection as well. So. And if you have more questions, go ahead and keep typing them in chat. Those are great questions, by the way. And also, we want to know your stories. Like if you're using any of our tools at all, DataPoint, VideoPoint, Signage Tube, Counterpoint, any of them, we would love to write a story about how you're using it, because our subscribers our readers just love these real life case studies. And it really helps too. For example, if I have a little coffee shop saying, well, how could I use your software in our coffee shop, and I can send them links to 2 or 3 case studies of how other coffee shops are doing it, that there's nothing like a real life example. Oh, somebody else is doing it and here's what they've done, and I love what they've done, and I'm going to use that as inspiration. Or if there's an event planner or a museum that's using it for events, like we have the Wildlife Center using our DataPoint software for events. It's great that I can share how this museum is using it, because there's a lot of other museums out there and attractions and event people who can then look at how it's being used and go, oh yeah, that makes sense. So please do reach out to me with your stories. As I said, a big part of my job is collecting these stories, and you can email garland@presentationpoint.com to do the story. Or of course, if you're already in touch with Kurt about something, feel free to share the story. The stories are really easy for you. We try to make them as easy for our customers as possible. I just send you some questions about, about sharing how you're using it. You send us a few pictures and videos, and I write the story. So we're not going to force you to become reporters for us, unless you want to, of course. But yeah, we'd love to hear from you how you're using things in real life. And if you're not sure if something can be done, ask us, because chances are, Kurt's been doing this for over 22, 23 years. So, I've been with Kurt for 6 years, and we've seen so many different ways, and our customers are so creative in how they use it, that chances are we've seen somebody do something similar. So we can probably come up with a way to do it, or a workaround, or something like that. Any additional questions? Thoughts, comments? How many of you are using Airtable right now for anything? As I mentioned, this recording will be on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and search for Presentation Point, and we come right up. The link is there if you want, youtube.com/c, then Presentation Point channel. But the search is probably the fastest and easiest ways. And we've got hundreds of videos there on how to do different things. So chances are, if you're looking for a way to do something, chances are we've got a video already that can give you some steps on how to do that. So. Oscar says, yeah, I tried to use Airtable, but not successfully. If you're using Airtable with DataPoint and you're having a problem, send us a support ticket. We'll be happy to look into it for you. And if you send us your Airtable link, we can probably even just troubleshoot it and see what might be the problem. So. Yeah, Airtable takes a little bit of work, but it's so flexible. Once you figure out how to what it can do and see the power of it, you can do that. And certainly you can hire Airtable consultants or something if you want, or pass it off to a virtual assistant or something. Okay, I need an Airtable to do this. You go look at the templates and go do this for me. So you don't have to always do everything yourself. And there's Airtable has a lovely community as well that you can join through Airtable, where you can post questions on how to do things. And they were really helpful. I was trying to set up how to do a pull down menu of time zones for people in different countries. And somebody gave me a workaround that worked brilliantly that I would have never come up with myself, because it was this complex formula. But once I had the formula, I could just copy and paste the formula into the area, and it worked brilliantly. So once again, you're never not alone in this stuff. If you're struggling with anything with DataPoint, contact us. If you're struggling with anything with Airtable, reach out to their support, their community, and the same thing with PowerPoint, reach out to the community, and you'll find that there's always people who are willing to help. And of course, you can always contact us, find out more, find our articles, information, find documentation at presentationpoint.com.
I think we ran out of questions on the chat, Garland.
Yeah, it looks like we ran out of questions on the chat. So, and if you do come up with a great way to use Airtable and DataPoint, please, as I said, send us some information on it, because I'd love to write a story about it. So. Oscar says, thank you for the inspiring presentation. Yeah, and that's the benefit of webinars like these, is it just shows you some ideas and ways things could be done. But I do find Airtable is an amazing tool for this, and I see Airtable as just a great partner, or so to speak, for DataPoint, because it becomes the online way of gathering the information that then DataPoint can help you use and show. And there's so many different ways to use Airtable that then DataPoint can access. So I think it's really a great tool for people who want to be able to show this stuff online. And I know, I think somebody, I can't remember if it was Scott, but somebody had said they were doing a lot of event planning and things like that, and using DataPoint for that. And again, you could be setting up your events quite easily in Airtable, and you could quite easily under the event planning area, there's tons of templates, so you could easily be doing that and then showing the event information live. What's going on, what's your next speaker, who's your next speaker, what's the next band that's coming up on stage, where do people get tickets, and all those kinds of things can all be done using Airtable and DataPoint and PowerPoint.
And the idea of using DataPoint and PowerPoint here is that you leave the slideshow running on the screens, and that you just update the information at the website, the browser, the Airtable data.
Yeah, so you're just updated the Airtable, and the updating can be done with your desktop computer, laptop, tablet, or even a smartphone, because Airtable has that mobile. So it gives you a way to update quickly things on the fly. So if you see there's a problem or a mistake on an event you're showing, you can just quickly, grab your phone, log into open up your Airtable app, make the change, and the change is going to automatically be there. You don't have to stop the PowerPoint running, fix the PowerPoint, and then re-upload it and restart it or something. So
no, that's the benefit of using DataPoint.
Yeah. And our website has tons of additional ways that people are using. As I like to point people to our case studies, because our case studies just has a wealth of creative ways our clients are using DataPoint. Like ambulance service is using it there, used for meeting room schedules, sales dashboards, teacher recognition program, live raffle results, staff profiles that are done as infographics, colleges, voting. NATO is using it, so even for road signals and smart city projects and financial reporting and safety messages and weather software. Here's a museum using it. So yeah, just tons of different ways that it can be used. So it's just got another thank you there. So thank you all for coming. I look forward to hearing from you, hearing your stories, and do reach out to myself or Kurt if you have any questions or anything about DataPoint software and how to make it work with Airtable. We'd be happy to help.
Sure. Thanks, Garland, for the interesting demo and training.
Great. Thanks to all of you for coming. We hope to see you next time.